Thank you for your interest in our African American history textbook, Freedom on My Mind. Before we get started, let me tell you a little about BFW Publishers. We build all of our programs to support you, the teacher, using the best authorship and content, providing unmatched resources and support. In this video, we'll take a quick look at the various parts of the Freedom on My Mind 3rd edition textbook program. Let's begin. Freedom on My Mind was written by 3 leading historians of African American history. Deborah Gray White, PhD, University of Illinois at Chicago, currently Board of Governors Distinguished Professor of History at Rutgers University. Author of many works including Lost in the USA, American Identity from the Promise Keepers to the Million Mom March, and Too Heavy a Load, Black Women in Defense of Themselves, 1894 to 1994. She is a recipient of the John Simon Guggenheim Fellowship and the Woodrow Wilson International Center Fellowship. She holds the Carter G. Woodson Medallion and the Frederick Douglass Medal for Excellence in African American History. Mia Bay, PhD, Yale University, currently Roy F. and Jeanette P. Nichols Professor of American History at the University of Pennsylvania. Publications include To Tell the Truth Freely, The Life of Ida B. Wells, and The White Image in the Black Mind, African American Ideas About White People, 1830 to 1925. She is a recipient of the Alphonse Fletcher Sr. Fellowship and the National Humanities Center Fellowship. She is an OAH Distinguished Lecturer and a member of the Executive Board of the Society of American Historians. She also serves on the editorial boards of the Journal of African American History and the African American Intellectual History Society's Black Perspectives blog. Waldo E. Martin Jr., PhD, University of California, Berkeley. Currently the Alexander F. and May T. Morrison Professor of American History and Citizenship at the University of California, Berkeley. He is the author of No Coward Soldiers, Black Cultural Politics in Post-War America, and, with Joshua Bloom, the co-author of Black Against Empire, The History and Politics of the Black Panther Party. With Patricia A. Sullivan, he serves as co-editor of the John Hope Franklin series in African American History and Culture. Current projects include a forthcoming book on the impact of Black cultural politics on the modern Black freedom struggle. The authors of Freedom on My Mind chose African Americans' quest for freedom as the central theme of their narrative, situated as it must be in the context of American history. Their perspective is that African American history complicates American history rather than diverges from it. This idea is woven into their narrative. Beyond the central theme of freedom, the authors introduce 5 additional themes. First, they examine the troubled relationship between African Americans and the American democratic state. In doing so, this text underscores the disturbing fact that our country's democracy arose within the context of a slaveholding society and advanced, and that African American activism has been crucial to the evolution of American democratic institutions. The authors then recognize wide diversity of African Americans who participated in the struggle for freedom. Those who did so through open rebellion and visible social protest, those who were more covert in their defiance, disobedience, and dissent, and those who simply survived and persevered in the face of overwhelming odds. In Freedom on My Mind, the authors illuminate the rich and self-affirming culture Blacks established in response to their exclusion from and often adversarial relationship with American institutions. Du Bois metaphorically characterized this life as behind the veil. The rhythms and structure of Black social and religious life are examined in the context of African Americans' quest for freedom, escape from degradation, and inclusion in the nation's body politic. While culture is central to Freedom on My Mind, the authors offer an analytical approach to African American culture that enables students to see it as a central force that both shaped and reflected other historical developments, rather than as a phenomenon in a vacuum. For example, how do we process Black art, poetry, music, paintings, novels, sculptures, quilts, without understanding the political, economic, and social conditions that these pieces express. Finally, the authors offer a synthesis of the most up-to-date historiography and historiographical debates in their clear narrative style. While those 5 themes and the overarching theme of freedom are woven through the narrative, this text remains chronological. Each chapter begins with important chronological information to orient the reader to the time period. These chronologies include events specific to African American history in bold, as well as general world history events. Following the chronology, each chapter progresses to a vignette that vividly frames the climate for the Black American in that time period. Most photo and map captions now contain questions that encourage students to question, analyze, and look for meaning. By the Numbers is a feature that presents data that is then discussed and analyzed in the narrative. Each chapter then concludes with a summary and brief analysis of the information presented in the chapter. A chapter review includes key terms with page numbers, review questions that you can assign, and references to further research. Finally, at the end of each chapter, you will find a document project, which brings together 6 to 8 textual and visual primary sources around a chapter topic. From first-hand accounts of the slave trade to perspectives on the Black Lives Matter movement, these document projects illuminate the primary evidence that underpins African American history. Each document project opens with an introduction to the themes presented in the document set. Then, each individual document includes headnotes to introduce the source. The document project then concludes with questions for analyzing the document set. This 3rd edition has new and extensively revised chapters. A new Chapter 1 is dedicated to African origins, beginnings to circa 1600 CE. While Chapter 2 is now entirely focused on the transatlantic slave trade. Chapter 17 on the contemporary period has been extensively revised to reflect the many significant trends and events of the past 2 decades, including the Trump presidency. In addition, every chapter has been updated to reflect the latest scholarship, from details on slavery in colonial New England to updated statistics on the magnitude of racial terror lynching, to new insights into mass incarceration in the contemporary period. Finally, we also have 3 new document projects. Imagining Africa in Chapter 1, the Harlem New Negro Renaissance in Chapter 11, and All Africa's Children on Contemporary Black Immigrants in Chapter 16. This allows students to practice doing history with fresh and engaging themes. In addition to these entirely new document projects, there are new textual and visual sources within existing document projects, such as an interview with Ona Judge, addresses from Reconstruction-era political conventions, and the lyrics from Nina Simone's Mississippi Goddam. We offer 3 types of instructor resources for you to use in your course. The Instructor's Manual offers you tools for presenting course materials in engaging ways. It includes learning objectives, annotated chapter outlines, and strategies for teaching with the textbook. And a survival guide for first-time teaching assistants translates as a handy tool for first-time teachers. Our test bank includes a mix of fresh, carefully crafted multiple choice, matching, short answer, and essay questions for each chapter. Many of the multiple choice questions feature a map, an image, or a primary source excerpt as a prompt. All questions appear in Microsoft Word format and in easy-to-use test bank software that allows instructors to add, edit, resequence, filter by question type or learning objective, and print questions and answers. Presentation materials in the Bedford Lecture Kit include fully customizable multimedia presentations built around chapter outlines that are embedded with maps, figures, and images from the textbook, and are supplemented by more detailed instructor notes on key points and concepts. VitalSource provides educators and students with immersive, interactive experiences that go beyond the printed page. The The Vital Source ebook is accessible online or offline on any device and can always be accessed through your student's bookshelf. At BFW Publishers, no teacher is ever left behind. For us, it's simple. Successful teachers mean successful students, so we offer professional development in a variety of mediums. To learn more, visit bfwpub.com/FOMM3E or email us at hsmarketing@bfwpub.com. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.